Good evening, welcome to QUT Web News.
Good evening.
Queensland civil libertarians are questioning whether the state's new anti-bikie laws can work. They expect a flood of court challenges, but the government presses ahead with its tough stance, despite drawing criticism from bike retailers.
As the clock approached 3 this morning, Australia's toughest bikie laws were finally passed through Queensland Parliament. The legislation is aimed at destroying criminal bikie gangs, but Queensland's general motorcycling community fears it may also fall victim to the laws.
It's just not fair that we're all branded with the same laws because of a few, that are out there.
Motorcycle shop owner Shane Endicott says the push to introduce these laws is a waste of taxpayers' money.
For the amount of money that they're injecting into this at this point in time, I think it's absolutely disgusting.
Mr Endicott says the local motorcycle community has been put off and it's hurting the industry.
We've seen a little bit of a slow in sales obviously already, and we've had a lot of people walking in saying, perhaps should I sell my bike?
However, the Attorney General says the tough stance targets outlaw gangs and has been approved by both sides of government.
1 minute they're supporting tough measures, next minute they're wanting a talk fest on the Gold Coast, and last night we saw when push came to shove, they supported the legislation.
But some politicians aren't so happy.
This forced and rushed legislation, it was just, a stunt by the Newman government.
The new laws will be tested here in the courts. Bikies will be banned from owning and operating tattoo parlours, and the Attorney General says other industries could soon follow suit. Those industries include bikies who work as security, gym and used car staff. Nicholas Chin, QUT News.
Victorian police are now investigating a brawl between a controversial state MP and a protester outside Parliament. The politician, Jeff Shaw, has not been charged at this stage and says he was attacked first.
The brawl is headlining news in Victoria because Jeff Shaw has been criticised over an alleged expenses rort. Now it is claimed he pushed an elderly protester down steps. Shaw was filmed on a mobile phone as he walked into Parliament through a group protesting changes to taxi legislation. It appears to show the MP throwing a punch, then pushing taxi driver John Zimmet, who says he was cut on the face.
I'm not feeling well at all. My blood pressure, I think, is very high and I'm shaking. All my body is shaking. I'm 74 years old. And he pushed me away from him.
Shaw, a former bouncer in Frankston, has yet to be charged. He's already under scrutiny over allegations he misused his fuel card, but says on the steps of Parliament he was spat on and forced to push the protester away. Mr Zimmet refused to give up his protest.
No, I stay. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to fight for my rights.
Police are yet to speak with Mr Shaw, although the incident was raised in question time during Parliament. Gabrielle, Lyons, QUT News.
Former Bundaberg surgeon Jayant Patel is still waiting to hear if he'll face a third trial in a case of grievous bodily harm. Jurors in a retrial of the case were dismissed after failing to reach a verdict.
Jayant Patel is accused of grievous bodily harm. It's alleged he wrongly removed a patient's bowel and colon at Bundaberg Base Hospital in 2004. Patient Ian Vowles' case was being heard in the District Court, but after deliberating for nearly 4 days, the jury couldn't reach a verdict and it was dismissed. The Attorney General says he'll take no part in deciding if Patel will face court for the third time over the allegation.
We aren't getting involved in whether this man should be re-prosecuted or what happens now because it's entirely a matter for the DPP.
Patel was sentenced to 7 years prison in 2010 when a Supreme Court jury found him guilty of grievous bodily harm allegations and charges over the death of 3 other patients. But all convictions were appealed last year and the charges are being retried separately.
The law has been very complicated in this case and there's been a lot of forward and backward steps and as I said, it's just taken its toll on a lot of people.
Patel still faces 2 counts of manslaughter, a separate count of grievous bodily harm, as well as negligence and fraud charges. They'll be mentioned in court again on Friday. But there's been no time frame given for a decision on a retrial on charges relating to Ian Vowles. Zuzanna Kamusinski, QUT News.
The federal government is under pressure to explain whether companies will pay for pollution if the carbon tax is repealed. But it seems increasingly likely it will be blocked in the Senate, forcing the government to attempt to embarrass Labor and the Greens.
Tony Abbott kept his word, laying down his first big change.
To abolish the carbon tax.
But Labor says his draft laws aren't clear. They won't support the government changes in the Senate and have been strongly criticised by the coalition for ignoring its election mandate.
Labor is essentially thumbing its nose at the Australian people and saying the Australian people got it wrong, the Labor Party is right.
But Labor argues Tony Abbott should listen to the environmental evidence.
It's a pretty depressing read because in the nature of Tony Abbott's opposition, all he does is tear something down. He doesn't put anything in its place.
The Greens will join Labor in blocking any repeal to the carbon tax in the Senate.
Tony Abbott is a climate change criminal.
This may leave the Palmer United Party with the decisive vote. Clive Palmer was tight-lipped about that today.
We don't know what the bill says until we see the bill, until we have a good look through it.
Mackenzie Lyon, QUT News.
The RSPCA is concerned about a sharp increase of attacks on wildlife by household pets. Thousands of koalas, possums and water dragons are injured each year by cats and dogs, and the animal welfare group wants owners to be more vigilant.
It's a heartbreaking sight for RSPCA wildlife. Another injured wild animal, this time a flying fox. Domestic cats and dogs opportunistically prey on these animals, and dozens are hurt each day.
Could be fledgling birds that are on the ground that just need to be fed by their mother, but while they're down there in the ground, a cat will grab them.
The animals' injuries are usually so bad they cannot be saved, especially birds.
One little mouthful and they just break that wing open, and once they have an open fracture, it's non-repairable.
The animals keep suffering long after the initial attack, with many succumbing to a whole body infection. RSPCA says the solution is to keep your pets inside during the night and not let them roam during the day.
If anyone out there can please make certain that their dogs or cats are kept inside at night in particular.
The RSPCA urges pet owners to be even more vigilant now, as it's prime nesting time for birds and reptiles are coming out of hibernation. In the past 14 days alone, the RSPCA has received over 300 native animals that were injured by domestic pets. The RSPCA suspects there are more attacks on wildlife because of a greater interaction with pets in suburbia.
We have a huge growth right now. We're building more houses, we're going into beautiful areas, we want trees. So with trees come wildlife.
The senior veterinarian says people should learn to cohabitate with the animals and stop taking them for advantage.
If they're not, they're going to disappear, and then we're going to miss what we had.
Liana Bignell, QUT News.
After 2 thrashings and a week of criticism, the Socceroos have finally lifted their game. They beat the lower-rated Canada 3-0 in a friendly match in London.
The Socceroos have rebounded from horror 6-0 defeats to Brazil and France after finally winning a match this morning. The team needed something to relieve the pressure, and it came in the first minute.
Josh Kennedy with an early chance, and Australia score after 26 seconds.
After the 3-point win, Captain Lucas Neal praised his teammates. He'd attracted controversy over comments about the dedication of some of the younger players earlier in the week.
It's never been about me. It's a team game. You know, when the Socceroos win, Lucas Neal doesn't get the credit, and equally when the Socceroos lose, Lucas Neal can't take all the blame.
Caretaker coach Auriello Vidmar has been tipped to become the team's new coach following the sacking of Holger Osick. And overnight, Australia's best female athletes were honoured at the Women in Sport Awards. Professional surfer Sally Fitzgibbons is Sportswoman of the Year.
As a sports fanatic, I was here just enjoying the night, and then to end up with the major prize is, I'm stoked, as we say as surfers.
The Prime Minister's award went to Olympic rower Kim Crow. Rachel Rieger, QUT News.
Time now for a look at the weather. Temperatures in the southeast today. A little cloudy around the city. Brisbane had a top of 26. Both coastal cities and Ipswich had a top of 25. Around the nation tomorrow, Brisbane will have a top of 28, remaining sunny. Sydney will have rain and strong winds across the day, top of 32. Canberra and Melbourne will both have morning showers, tops of 22 and 16. Hobart and Adelaide can expect a similar rainy day, with tops of 14 and 18. A sunny day in Perth, but a hot and steamy day in Darwin, top of 34, and a possible storm in the evening. The forecast for Queensland, and storms are rolling in. Sunny in Mount Isa, top of 29 in Cairns, Townsville and Mackay, all with possible showers. Mostly sunny in Rocky, but Bundaberg and Longreach can expect strong afternoon winds, with temperatures sitting in the 30s. The outlook for Brisbane, and there is a chance of a violent storm on Friday night, sunny on Thursday, top of 26 on leading into the weekend, with the storm clearing away on Saturday and a few light showers. That brings you up to date with the weather.
And that's all the news we have for now.
We'll be back tomorrow with more QUT news. Goodbye.
Goodbye.